Welcome back to Afternoon Express, coming to you live on SABC3 this fabulous afternoon. Now, crime continues to be a huge problem in South Africa, but through their cunning tactics, criminals have found ways of involving ordinary citizens in their schemes and scams without their knowledge, which is why the South African Banking and Risk Information continues to educate consumers on how to bank safely.
It's time to talk about that all-important money, money, money. And in recent years, we've seen a rise in arrests related to money laundering in the country. And despite the fact that this term is something that many associate with big criminal cases or syndicates, it is also something that many South Africans fall victim to without even their knowledge. And with the promise of easy money, criminals know just what to say to persuade people to becoming money mules. We're joined today by Kalyani Pillay, CEO of the South African Bank Risk Information Center, or SABRIC, to tell us more about these intricate schemes and scams used by those criminals. Welcome to the loft. It's good to see you again.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Let's begin unpacking money laundering. I mean, it does sound like such a complicated thing, a big syndicate, big plan, big schemes, but sometimes it can happen to the average Joe.
Absolutely. And I think, certainly what's relevant for us to talk about in terms of bank customers is that we're finding that a lot of bank customers are being sort of almost doped into opening bank accounts for other people. They offered small amounts of money, really not significant in terms of what's in the bigger scheme of things that the criminal syndicates actually gain out of unlawful proceeds. And so the money laundering angle comes into it because the criminals need to find a way to make dirty money clean.
I see.
And so they go through this process of having to do a whole lot of things before they can actually get this money, which appears to be legitimate. And so what we've been finding is that bank customers are approached, people who have properly figured bank accounts would be approached, and they would be, in some instances, offered a couple of £1,000, in some instances even a couple of £100, because they know who to target. And in other instances, they would get people to open bank accounts for them and take over the card and the account. And in those instances, we say it's like renting out a bank account. But all of these things are unlawful.
Yeah, it sounds to me, honestly, like that sounds crazy. Who's going to accept to do that? Who's ever going to let somebody use their bank account? I mean, we're all quite conscious people. But what's scaring me is that that's happening on subtle bases. It's like when you have somebody who you've employed into your team who perhaps is a foreign citizen who's like, I don't have a bank account. Do you mind if they deposit the money into your account and I'll pay a little bit of money? Does that happen regularly enough?
No, it shouldn't, because any business, for that matter, needs to ensure that anybody that they employed, for one, has the right to be in the country and is legitimate in the country. And if they are, then of course they'd be able to open a bank account. So I think to give an example, just one, and it's something that's actually happened, is you get so many people that are unemployed today, and people are so desperate to get work, and legitimately so. And what the syndicates do, because they do their homework, and they know who's vulnerable, and they may go up to a group of people who are looking and hoping to get, even if it's part-time work. And we had an instance where the syndicate, well, some of the members, had gone to a place where a number of people would be waiting, people like painters and doing odd bits of work on construction sites, and got them into the vehicle and said, look, we offered them work, and everybody was excited about it, and then took them across to the bank and said, look, we need bank accounts to be opened in this particular bank. And the bank wasn't the problem here. And they said to them, once the bank accounts were opened, they said, well, we need to have your bank card, and when we pay you, we'll give it back to you, and we want all the details and your PIN number. And out of desperation, people go ahead and do that. And of course, it's a way that once they steal monies from other people's accounts, they need to have a way to move it so that they can draw out those monies.
And you, as the person who opened up the bank account, is now fraudulent. You officially you can be charged with that.
Because, in those instances as well, and also not only if you open an account and let somebody else use it, but also if you allow people to use the account that you're actually using every day to allow a deposit to come in, withdraw that money, give it to the person, irrespective of what reason they give you for doing that. So I think the important thing for people to know is that you actually are complicit in a very serious crime. Sure. You become what is called a money mule. If you're approached by someone who asks you to do this for a small fee or for some sum of money that's attractive to you, you have to remember that the fact that you didn't ask questions, I mean, surely you ought to wonder as to why somebody is asking you to have their monies come into your account. In terms of the law, it's considered willful blindness, like, you should have asked, but you went ahead.
Didn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I think it's really important that, people who would normally be the innocent ones become part of these huge crimes.
And getting a criminal record like that on your case, I mean, prevents you from doing lots of things in the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's detrimental to you. So
yes.
What are the top tips that you've got for just to end off?
Well, certainly don't allow anybody to use your bank account at all to receive any monies, ever. It should be an absolute. Don't open an account for somebody else, irrespective of what reason they give you. Don't open an account for somebody and allow them to transact on that account. I mean, these are just the key things so that you're not involved in money laundering and you're not going to become money mule. Really, as simple as that, really.
So it's funny because as kids in school, the teachers always say, stopping the kid always asks why,
yes.
why. As an adult, now we're saying, do ask why
yes,
as many times as possible.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for this advice. Geez, I need to go look at all of my different accounts and make sure that all these interactions that I'm having are all legitimate, because it seems like a very subtle thing in a lot of circumstances. So thank you for your advice today. For more tips on how to bank safely and stay ahead of Skellum and his scams, visit the SABRIC website, their Facebook page and their Twitter pages.
Wise up, watch out.